Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the League of Inches podcast. Another weekly update special. I promise to give you these weekly updates now. And a couple of boys on, got Jesse and Jake as well, keen to rip into some of the news this week. And another week where rugby league just does not sleep. So obviously November 1 of time of recording is tomorrow. So Friday today, when you're all probably listening to this episode, the silly season has officially started. So plenty of rumors not out there, plenty of clubs to releasing players, sacking players, getting themselves ready to spend big, it feels like, for November 1. So I've got no doubt these episodes will ramp up over the next couple of weeks as well, with plenty of talk, plenty of rumors and stuff floating about. So we'll talk what we've got today. Hope you all enjoy it. Like, comment, all that sort of stuff, as you've all been doing. Keep getting around things and tell your friends and stuff about it and help us get and spread the word out. I know a lot of people are sort of shut up shop so far, but we'll continue to try and give you as much sort of stuff as we can. All right, boys, let's get into it. Josh Addo-Carr has been sacked by the Canterbury Bulldogs, made official this afternoon or late this evening. What do we make of it, Jesse? I think the writing was on the wall. Obviously had to dot some I's, cross some T's for the Bulldogs, which seem to have taken forever.
Yep. I think it was always going to be this way, man. I don't think there was any other way around it. And you know what? Fair play to the Dogs too. Like they did the right thing. They did what was expected of them in the situation. There are other clubs. We won't go any more than we did last week, obviously, but nothing's come of that. It's been another week. Still radio silence. So, they've addressed it. They obviously worked it out. And that's it. His tenure at the Dogs is done. So I think he's still going to be a good acquisition to any club they get him, honestly. I think he will end up somewhere else. Probably this coming season. I don't see him, taking time off at all unless, it's sanctioned that he can't play, but I don't think that's the case. Yeah, the Dogs, they've got enough. Well, you know what? Like, it just depends. Obviously, they just signed Montoya. Is he going to be the firepower that replaces Addo-Carr? That was the intention. You can kind of tell that was the reason he came, but to the level of Addo-Carr, maybe not the same, but they've got the coverage. They had it all planned out. So, yeah, pretty much, man, is what it is.
Jakey boy, your thoughts around the Addo-Carr sacking?
Oh, I mean, you know what? Fair play to the Bulldogs and also to Gus Gould, who stuck to his word after what happened with sorry, my dog's barking in the background. Yeah, fair play to them for sticking to their word. I'm so sorry.
Shut the
fair play
up.
Fair play to them for sticking to their word, and that's two podcasts now that he's come in and just been a punish to us. So I'm so sorry about that. But yeah, no, that's been it was Latrell. He was basically like, we wouldn't stand for that at our club, and they haven't stood for it. They let it, it happened, and they've gone, right, you're done. I'm not going to make us so that we're not true to our word, and gone. I think it's fair enough. I also do think he'll be an asset to wherever he ends up going, and I do think that will mean that he'll be on a bit of a cut price. I do think that actually affects that, and that it will be a really good pickup for anyone. I actually wouldn't mind seeing him potentially at the Eels, but I don't think it'll happen.
It's a funny one because I feel like in a way Gus Gould backed himself into a corner because it was so fresh from when he did come out and say that stuff about Latrell, and then a matter of a few weeks later, sort of Josh Addo-Carr, his own player, did the same sort of a similar sort of thing, and but I don't think he probably got surprised by just how much, I guess, courts and that sort of in the legal side of things he had to sort of cover to make sure this all happened, and they didn't get stung as a club and had to pay out all these massive sort of amounts of money and stuff like that. You mentioned the fact that there's probably a number of clubs who will look to possibly get him on a cut price deal, probably half of what he was on at the Dogs. I reckon that would have been up around the 600K mark after what he's done. 300, maybe 400, you'll probably get him for at most, especially with a number of clubs. I know there's a lot of stuff happening in the background for 2026 and stuff, but caps are looking a lot fuller than they did a couple of months ago. So which will probably, depending on who Josh Addo-Carr wants to go to, will depend on where he ends up, because some clubs might simply not be able to afford that. And his reputation's been tarnished by this, in my opinion, because it was at a time where the Dogs were flying. They were heading into the finals. Everything was looking good for him. And then he went out and selfishly, in my opinion, I know it might be harsh, but he went ahead and did the wrong thing. Like, clear as day, he would have known what he was doing, knew it wasn't the right thing to do, and he still went ahead and did it after the Dogs, who have been struggling for years, ended up in this sort of where they needed him to be on the field and provide that energy that he was bringing each and every week. He had a good season for the Dogs. He was quite consistent, and that energy maker was helped with Crichton in that factor. But yeah, I don't know if there's many clubs out there at the moment that will go for him, because it feels like more and more this day and age, culture and getting the things right are a huge thing. I know if you're getting him for, say, 300, it's probably a risk that some clubs out there, like the Tigers and stuff and the Dragons, will probably say to themselves, let's take it. Let's take the risk. Jesse, any other clubs apart from sort of those two that stick out for you?
Not really, man. You sort of have the established ones towards the top, and like obviously he's an elite level player. But I don't know if they want to be sort of bringing that. You're right, that culture, that kind of thing into the club. But God, he's a freaking good player to have in your club, man. In the dressing rooms, you got to imagine what Addo-Carr's like, and how much he would like G the club up in general. And, you look at the Dogs; they were flying. And you just see him and you hear him on the pitch, and he's screaming, and his sideline interviews are just hilarious. And like that's the kind of player you want at your club. But then at the same time, like, you don't want to be dragging any sort of bad reputation through at the same time. So it's tricky. I don't see a lot of the top ones going for him. I don't think there's much of a need for it, to be fair. But if there's anyone that could, it'd be anyone fighting for the 8, or, the Tigers, Jesus Christ, like they've been screaming for quality for a long time, and they haven't had any for ages. So you never know, man. Like, for some reason, somehow they just seem to have all this money to get all these players. So it would not surprise me at all to see him go there. And I think
it's a funny
one
with the Tigers, because they've got Skelton now that they've signed, and they've also just signed Taruva, who I don't know if he's ready to be a center at NRL level, to be honest. I think he's best to stay on the wing. So it's like, even the Tigers, in a way, you look at it and you think maybe not.
I don't think he'd go to the Tigers, because I think honestly they're trying to spend their money on their forward pack. They need a forward pack before they've got their back line set. It's a way, like, they're going to move someone they just signed into reserve grade for priced at an NRL price. They're not going to do that, because they've made that sort of mistake before. And I don't
Tigers.
Yeah, well, I could see him at the Rabbitohs, to be honest.
Yeah, well, apparently they're not interested.
No.
Yeah, I don't think they are, because look at their backline. They've got Alex Johnston, they've got Munro, they've got Campbell Graham, they've got Isaiah Tass, they've got Jack Whiten if he goes back to centre, which is apparently strong rumours around at the moment that he will go back to centre. There's quickly all of a sudden the Rabbitohs have more players than they can fit in, which this year they seem to struggle throughout the year. Yeah. And I've probably missed one or two as well, which people will probably message me and let me know.
Gagai.
Oh, yeah.
Gagai's gone as far as I'm aware.
Oh, he's gone. There you go.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's gone. And Munro is going to test his value on the market. So you could probably...
He'll be there next year.
I was going to say, well, you'd probably wait and see. But yeah, you're right. He'll be there next year.
Who's screaming for a winger? Dragons?
Sorry?
Dragons, I think, after Lomax is gone. Obviously, I know if they do end up, and we'll talk about it soon, but if they do, the rumors are that they'll sign Gutho, which is pretty much confirmed everywhere. Why it hasn't been official yet, I'm not too sure. But then it sounds like Sloan will push to wing as well. So who knows? But in my opinion, Dragons are still quite weak and fragile in their back. So that would make a lot more sense signing, say, a Josh Addo-Carr. I know that he's had Gutho. Apparently, Gutho money was already there before this Ben Hunt stuff happened. So that potentially is freeing up a lot more money. They can give maybe Addo-Carr that 400 sort of K mark and get him in for the Red V, and hopefully build that sort of player sort of environment where, as you said, Jesse, like, you G's them up, because from an outsider looking in, that sort of seems like something that the Dragons haven't had for a long time, like a club where they're G'd up. Like, it just seems like a club where they're just sort of like, oh yeah, we'll go out and play some footy and that's sort of it. Where, like, it's not like a let's go. It's sort of like, if you know what I don't know how to explain it. It's just it's weird.
Yeah, definitely.
I reckon as well a side with Val Holmes in centre and him on the wing would be pretty.
Yeah, it'd be good.
It'd be pretty good. Gutho feeding him out the back as well. So talking about Gutho, we'll go there now. Obviously, actually, sorry. Let's go to the train. We'll go through the train of what has happened. So Ben Hunt got his release from the Dragons. Now, this was after a week or so of heavy rumours linking Gutho to the Dragons. It felt like the Dragons needed to free up some sort of salary cap space to make this happen. Since I listened to a couple of potties and that have explained perhaps the Dragons already had the money for Gutho. That was never the issue at all. So who knows what is going on in the Dragons in the background. They could be about to announce 3 or 4 decent signings, which would be awesome for that club and probably what they need. But Ben Hunt finally released. It's been some noise now, almost 18 months, where he's so publicly came out last year around sort of Origin time saying he didn't want to be at the club again. He basically didn't want to go back after Origin and that sort of thing. So it's been, and for your captain, I just think he's acted disgracefully, if I'm being brutally honest here, because he's your captain of your club. He's supposed to be the heart and soul, lead that group of men out on the field every week. And we talk about culture. Maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe players were thinking, oh, stuff you. You've openly said you don't want to be that many times. The club's keeping you around. You're on $1 million+ bucks. It hasn't been a good look. So I think it was just effectively time, and did the season review with the Mad Dragon on here a few days ago or last week. And he mentioned that he was just over it. And that was a passionate True Blue Dragons fan who just said he's over the shit show. Like, just go, please. So it was good that it happened. Jakey boy, what are your thoughts around the Ben Hunt stuff?
Yeah, it was time. It was. He'd been wanting to get out for a while, and then it was that whole, oh no, now I'm happy to stay here. No, I want to go. No, I'm actually happy to stay here. Like, if you're not happy to be there, you should never be wanted at a club. Like, if a player tries to get out, no matter how good they are, if they're not buying into your club and they're not there to win and they're not 100%, you're better off getting rid of them, especially someone on his price. That's the biggest thing, is the amount of money that he is on, and he wasn't playing to the performances. You know, there was a time there where he was dragging Dragons players, you know, to wins through the teeth, through, you know, grabbing them by the jerseys with his teeth and dragging them. But, you know, you can't do that every game if you're the only one who wants to be there. And there was a time where it felt like he was the only one who was competing in games. And that wears on a person. So it's not as if I'm going to say that he's never tried for the Dragons or he's never cared. But I think, you know, it's come from both sides of, like, you know, he's been around players for so long that just don't want to win to the same level that he does. I actually think that if he did stay there and they were able to have Gutho and him at the same time, they'd get on like a house on fire, for the fact that they both were so competitive and want that win so badly that it actually would have been quite a good matchup. But,
yeah,
you know, to be able to get Gutho the way they did, I think they needed to get rid of Hunt anyway. So it's a win. I don't want to say like either team's winning, but it's kind of a win-win for both people and like players in the club.
Yeah, you definitely don't want that around your club. And it's quite funny because Gutho, and we will talk about him very, very shortly, but he's just sort of that guy that apparently like trains a house down. That's what you need from him. Every club sort of wants that sort of player who will just train the house out in preseason, tell everyone from literally day one, like, we're going here. So that's what they're sort of going to get. And whether the Hunt was doing that, apparently Hunt was still very professional on the field. Like, people, I don't think he was that great this year, in my honest opinion, especially the back half of that season where they needed those couple of wins. And I thought he was almost one of their worst players on the field. And everyone goes on about his try assists this year, like 30 odd. I always think, well, 15 or so of those were Zach Lomax getting kicks, which, like, all you need to do is put the kick over. So, like, half his try assists were like really much. They were just a couple of kicks over, which most halfbacks in the comp would be able to produce. So I think his numbers this year, thanks to Zach Lomax, were heavily inflated. I think you go back and watch a lot of his clips this year and highlights. I don't think he was at a Ben Hunt level this year, especially didn't warrant an Australian jersey, in my opinion. Jesse, any thoughts around the Ben Hunt stuff?
Not really. Nothing more to add than Jake had actually covered. I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head with almost everything. Yeah, like, man, he's been wanting out of that club for so long, and like, one of my best mates is a diehard Dragon supporter too, and like, he said it's just frustrating. It's frustrating watching him because he's a tease. He's like, I want to be here, I don't. I want to be here, I don't. It's like, well, you know what? And, you know, you made the point, Jake. If you have anyone at your club, you know, in that sort of mentality, and they're not fully committed, you know, their toes kind of dipped in and they're playing with it, but they're also kind of testing themselves elsewhere at the same time. Like, that's not the sort of person you want at your club, let alone the captain, let alone, you know, your marquee player. So, you know, if you can't get the best out of the guy who's meant to be putting it on all the time because he doesn't really want to be there, and like, fair play to Ben Hunt. Like, I wouldn't want to be there either. It's surprising that he persisted for so long. It feels like he's been wanting out for like 5 years. But, you know, he finally got what he wanted, maybe probably 3 years too late, in my opinion. But, you know, it's kind of wrapped up now and it's done. And I think, the Dragon supporters just have to thank him for everything he's done, because they'd be in a freaking shit show if he wasn't for him for such a long time.
The other thing I would say, can I add in? Sorry, just real quick.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jesse. Is
You're right.
the other thing, like with what you were saying though, he's also the captain. The captain
Yeah.
needs to be the heart and soul of a club. He needs to be
Exactly.
that one who, if someone else is feeling the way that he is actually feeling, he's the one that needs to be, oh mate, it's fine. Like, this is what we need to do. Get your head in the game. Let's buy in. Let's go. If your captain doesn't want to be there, who else is going to want to be there?
Yeah,
like
and
that's
pretty much been the problem with the rest of it. And they're feeding off each other. Like, there's players that, like, he doesn't want to be there for one, and the coach will change, and he didn't like that, and he wanted out at the same time. But if it's coming from the top, of course the other players aren't going to want to play, and then that's just going to make him want to leave more. And then it's just this constant thing with the Dragons. But it's the same stuff with the Dragons every year. It's the cycle. Like, they do well, then they drop off, and then everyone wants to leave, and then the new season starts, and they're back to it again. So maybe this next year, man, maybe they got some good players coming. You never know.
Lock in. You've all got only can say one team. Where does Ben Hunt end up, Jesse?
I said the Titans before, and now that Tanner Boyd's gone, I'm going that way. I think it might happen. So I'm gonna say
Jake?
Titans.
Dolphins.
I'm locking in the Dolphins as well. I think the Titans have too many playmakers still. They've got Boren, Jaden Campbell that they've got to fit in somewhere. Carter Gordon, who's recently gone there. They've got Thomas Weaver still. The guy that, sorry, the name has left me, but a really good schoolboy sort of guy coming through. So I'm not sure if they can fit Ben Hunt, even without Tanner Boyd now. I don't know, but it could happen still. Who knows with the Titans? They haven't been, let's be honest, great at recruiting and balancing their cap. So you never know. They might just decide, you know what, let's just go all in this year and let's get some sort of success in the club. But who knows how sort of Foran and Hunt would play together. I'm not too sure there. And then where it leaves Keeney, Brimson, and Jaden Campbell, who all three need to be starting in the 13, not on the bench, starting in the 13 on a week-to-week basis if, say, Brimson's body allows him to. Yeah, I'm locking the Dolphins. I feel like the Dolphins makes some sense. And him with Katoa in the halves, I think that would be awesome for Katoa for the next 2 years to learn off Ben Hunt and really get to that next level because he's still very, very young. Let's not forget that. And I thought he was really good this year. That sort of allows Gutho, the king. Could we just have a moment's silence, please, to just have a think about the king, and tears can be shed, roll down our face, and everybody hurts can play in the background. It's just been
world's smallest violin.
Yeah, well, look, Jesse, we'll get to you in a minute. You got a player that's apparently on the outer as well, so don't act too cocky over there.
That was a good one, by the way. Don't act too cocky over there. That was real good. I don't know if you meant
I'm on a roll tonight.
That was good. Didn't even realize
I've got
that.
some things happening. Look, Gutho obviously heavily rumored and basically can confirm he will be at the Dragons. If it's not announced today when you're listening to this, I'll be absolutely shocked. I think it's incoming. It's going to happen. He'll have he will never have a Parramatta outfit on again, unfortunately. So he'll be the next Red V. And then it looks like, he'll be at the Dragons. So first of all, let's talk about Jakey boy. I'll let you throw the Paraffin. Let us know your thoughts around Gutho leaving. I can't even talk about it at the moment. It's still very fresh. It still hurts. And then perhaps, let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, look, it is a bit fresh. I have only the highest regard of Gutherson. I personally, you're kind of missing it. There you go. I actually rate him in the same level in terms of in terms of effort and in terms of just drive to want to win. I rate him at the same level as Hindy, like club cult hero kind of level. Like I really do, and I loved Hindy so much. I think the club's really done right by him, though. At the same time, I wish we got to see him out in his final game, or if that final game that he played against the Tigers. Like, I wish we knew, so it could have been like a nice send off for him or something. I would have loved to be able to do a proper send off. And it sucks that we can't do that, so he doesn't get to feel the love of like the player or the fans that he's put his body on the line for week in and week out for years. Like, if it comes to effort, I don't think that there's a single player in the comp that could top him for just pure effort. If you're basing, on effort alone, no one stops him. I think the club's really done right by him. they've allowed him, while he's still at an age where he will get that deal or a deal kind of thing, they've allowed him to kind of go and pursue that for an extra 3 years. Whereas if he had waited 1 more year with us, I don't think he gets that next year kind of thing, and he gets that proper amount of money. So while I'm devastated, we have some fresh people coming in and stuff like that. They can take, no one's going to take his place straight away. I don't think that anyone can fill the void that he's going to leave straight away. But I think it was best for him. I wouldn't necessarily say it was best for us, but it still leaves us with an opportunity for growth and stuff like that in other areas. So it's a good move for both parties. And the fact that we've sort of allowed him to be able to go and do that, and it's all mutual and there's no friction at all, and there's, it's a nice clean break. I'm really happy about that. Like, it wasn't torn up by the media, and there was, I can't remember who it was like Crawley or whoever that was going like, oh, it's disrespectful from the Parramatta Eels to be letting him go and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's rubbish, because you know what? He doesn't want to play in another position, and he's getting too old to be playing fullback, in my opinion, at that club, especially with his knees and stuff like that. We kind of threw that offer of like, you can wait it out and see, and if you're still going good in whatever position you're good, we might be able to extend you on a cheaper deal. But it's not disrespectful at all. I actually think it's completely opposite. You are allowed to go and test your value. If you can get that deal for the next 3 years, if you can do that, man, go for it, because we want the best for you. And he literally has destroyed his body for the club. Yeah. He's destroyed his body to win games. If he was up by 50, down by 50, it didn't matter. He wanted to score another try, get another point, no matter what he could do to win games, he would do that. And I have the utmost respect for him, and I'll never boo him when he goes to the Dragons. I'd never ever consider it. Like, I'll be so sad watching us versus him. I'll be so sad, and I'll still want us to win, of course, because Para. But I'll always hope he plays really well. He's just, it does hurt. It actually hurt.
Yeah, it does. It's like lose my favorite son. So, but look, I can confirm with you, and I've been lucky enough to talk a little bit with the club over recent times, as recent as yesterday as well. But I can confirm what you're saying. It was very, very respectful. It was respectful by both parties. All chats that were had. This has been, people are thinking this has been in the works for months. It hasn't been. It actually has been a fairly quick, by I guess this sort of stuff happening, standards. It's very respectful. There were never once was the words, "We don't want you at the club," was ever made. I know there's been people out there, I guess on the side of the EGM where they're going for the other side of the board, but they're trying to sell all this, so disrespectful to Gutho, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't. End of the day, Gutho's asked for the release. So we love Gutho, but if there was anything, maybe he was disrespectful to the club, but it wasn't like that at all. It was all mutual. He wanted to go play fullback. He believes he still has a couple of years left in him to play fullback at that top level. And to be honest with you, if we didn't have him this year, who knows how we had a horrible season, but it could have been so much worse.
It would have been last. We would have gotten last place without him. He dragged us, like I said with Ben Hunt from a while ago. He grabbed our players by the jerseys with his teeth and dragged us to victories in times. Like, we would have come last without even had that spoon bowl.
I think we'll notice a huge difference without him, especially this off season. Jesse, I want to ask you though, with the Dragons side of it, do you rate the signing, or do you think there's a little bit of caution there with the signing and not as good as it sort of appears on paper?
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. Like, it's going to be really weird seeing Gutherson in any other colours, but the gold and blue. Like, it's just for the entire time that, whatever you want to call it. The entire time that I've been watching NRL actively and playing, Supercoach and fantasy and stuff, it was 2018. That was the year that I properly started actually committing and watching. And obviously, from what I had known from Gutherson and everything that I know about the sport from then, there's no one like him that I've seen in the last, probably call it 10 years, at the Eels for him. And it's massive. It's going to be a huge loss for the Eels not having him there. Culture-wise, leadership is a big thing. There was a big loss this year for the leadership side for the Eels, and it showed. With Moses out for half the season, Brown couldn't really do it. Gutherson's knee, there was patches here and there. So the Dragons have got themselves really good quality there. Cook as well, Holmes, they've got talent coming in, really, really good, solid players, experienced players, rep level players that have been doing it forever. For that side, yes, I think they've got a good thing going, but I just don't know the longevity of it. Like, you look at the 3 players again, like, they're not young, they're not spring chickens. Admittedly, the other 2 aren't as injury prone as Gutho has been lately, but um, I don't know. I don't know what the sort of game plan is for him. Like, what are they going for there? Are they going for just grit? Are they going for
Can I
someone
speak
who's
to
just
that?
gonna? Yeah,
I think that from what I've heard on the interviews and stuff, they've basically said like we're actually bringing him in for like his preseason and for his training, for what he will get the other players in the team to do,
yeah.
more
That's
so
pretty
than what
much
he's
it.
doing for just himself.
Yeah, and that's
Don't get me
that's
wrong,
half the point I'm trying to make too. It's like,
yeah.
okay, you bring him in for the betterment of the club. Like, they need it. The Dragons need that
Mm.
sort of stuff in general, because they're not getting it with Sloan. God no. And I think even still, even like Gutho on one leg is an improvement. So,
Quote,
like,
please quote that. Please put that on the post.
no disrespect to Sloan, I just don't think
Oh
he's at
no,
the
no, none at all.
level. Like, I think he might absolutely dominate in Super League, but I just don't think it's going to be something there. And can't really compare that. And that's what I mean. Like, one leg Gutho, they've got themselves a winner on that side, but I don't know. Like, what are they going for? Is this just a temporary? Is it a 2-year thing? And then thank you. Here's a bit of a paycheck. See you later, sort of thing. Like, fair enough. If Gutho's got that locked up, fair play to him. That's really good. How much is he on? Do you know? I suppose they haven't even
Yeah.
announced it. So what's?
Who
Apparently,
Gutho?
it's around the 900 mark, and
Oh,
from all
far out.
reports,
Bloody hell.
they've literally parted ways. There is no money involved, similar to the Hunt situation, which we forgot to mention. But both of these, so it's literally mutual. See you later. Don't owe us anything. All good. No worries. Because the thing is, November 1 is when the next contracts roll over and start. So you literally you don't have to do it. Say pay a cent. But what the Dragons have agreed to do is continue, and this is all reported, obviously, rumors and blah, blah, blah. They've actually agreed to just take up his salary. So if that's the case, I don't know if I'm going to say this. I hope it makes sense. I would rather have Gutho around next year for Parramatta on that money than sign him for a new 2 to 3 year deal, if that makes sense, on that money, because I don't think he had, and I love the bloke, like clearly I absolutely love him. I don't think he has 3 years left in him at fullback, and you don't want him playing any other position on 900 grand. And that's the problem I feel like the Dragons might be getting themselves into. I know what Flanagan's trying to do here. He's thinking short term because he wants to keep his job first and foremost, and he wants to give the Dragons and their long-suffering fans some success, which they haven't had for some time. So he wants to get some players in that can do that. No doubt this year next year, there'll be a very competitive team on the field, I feel like, and they'll be in a lot of contests. There'll be that, as you both said, that gritty sort of team. But even after next year, I'm worried about a number of these sort of signings. And like Val Holmes wasn't great this year. Like that was probably his worst season so far. Is that the start of his decline? Because he's had not just a huge NRL career, but he had that time over in America, which has a lot of force on your body. He's had a lot of miles in his legs. So yeah, it's concerning. And Cook was, I think, pretty underrated for South this year. Had a really good season, but again, he's only aging. How long can he last? And then they've got Jacob Little there as well, who looks like an 80-minute hooker. Like there is some weird things there when you actually peel it back and look at this roster management side of things for a Dragons point of view. But as you said, Jake, and it's the biggest and the key reason they've got Gutho there, that training and how he can lead that off the field, and then hopefully come on the field and improve them defensively, which has been Sloan's huge downfall. He has not been a defensive fullback since he started. A number of coaches have tried to make that happen with him, and it just won't. He's just not a defensive fullback.
Question for you, Joel. Do you think with Hunt gone, Gutho comes in at captain?
Well, they still lack leadership, in my opinion. I know they've signed like Cook, awesome, Val, awesome. I've always been a fan, and I know Stephen Crichton has sort of changed his way of thinking. I don't like giving players captaincy who's just walked into that club. Like, it just doesn't sit right with me. For mine, you need to sort of be in and around that DNA for at least like 2 years, understand it all, and then, all right, here's your captain. But in saying that, you look at that roster now without Ben Hunt, who's it going to be? Like, there's still rumors. I know he's just re-signed, but De Bellens seems to always be on the outer lately. I don't really know why, because he seems to try his ass off. But even in that, he's often starting from the bench. Like, he's not always that guaranteed starter for him. And he's obviously had his checkered past. I don't know if that'll sit too well with a lot of people out there if he's given the captaincy. And then apart from that, I honestly have no idea.
There's
The only
no
other
one.
person,
There's really
the only
no
other
one.
person the only other person I could even think of to do it is another person coming straight in, which would be Cookie. Like that'd be
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
other choice.
Their best candidates are their new signings because
Yeah.
there's just nothing, man. Like that's
Which
just
is why I think they're just bringing them in for leadership. That's why I think that's the main reason for their signings.
it's
Has
sort
to
of
be.
short term and long term, isn't it? It's kind of
Mm.
strange. It could be a master play. It could be a genius
Yeah.
play.
Suppose
Really
we'll find
could.
out.
Get 2-3 years out of them, really instill some good, new culture at it, and then everything sort of knocks on. But or it could just flop and everyone leaves and now their salary's wrecked. Who
Yeah.
knows?
We'll find out.
There's a
Dragons.
big couple of months ahead for them to see how all that sort of stuff plays out, positions and captaincy and things like that. It's very, very interesting indeed. On the re-signing side of things, Reece Walsh has done a 4-year extension at the Broncos, all confirmed. Felt like this had been done halfway through the year, but nothing official. It wasn't, I don't know, it was a handshake or who knows what the hell was happening, but Reece, I don't know what the dollars and figures are and the cents and stuff are for this yet. Nothing's been put out in the media. So all it seems to be reported and basically, and it's been guaranteed now from the Broncos that Reece Walsh has extended for a 4-year term. I think it takes him to 2029, if I've read that right. Honestly, huge. Obviously, he would make his money up just off field alone. But then you look at the player, his best years are ahead of him. I think this was obviously a must signing, especially with the Ezra Mam stuff happening. We don't know what's going to happen there. It looks more than likely, if I was putting my cap on of CA, they'd be punting him. But who knows? Longer this goes on, I kind of feel like in a way they're trying to find ways to hold on to him. But yeah, I think they had to keep him. Jesse, your thoughts on the Reece Walsh extension?
I've seen 4.4 over 4 years, which is,
Ooh.
pretty expected, I guess, out of him. That's but just like the hype of the Reece Walsh thing. I don't think he's worth it. I don't think he's worth anywhere near it, to be
Yeah.
honest. But, I hope it sort of screws up the Broncos a little bit because I really don't like him. Sorry, Broncos supporters. I'm not a fan. I'm pretty vocal about it. Yeah, look, if he can get consistent, if he can start stringing some good games together, and God knows the club needs it, especially after last year, not even making the 8, it's pretty bad. I just don't think he's worth it. But they do, He's definitely puts butts on seats, man.
Yeah.
He brings a
Yeah.
pretty young demographic into the game. A lot of girls start watching NRL because Reece Walsh plays. He's the marquee man. He's the star boy. Like, I understand that you pay the guy because such a big name to the club on that side. But I just don't think he's worth what they're paying him on that side of things.
He only played 14 games this year out of 24. Like,
Yeah, it's not
he
good,
has,
is it?
and the thing is, he's getting more and more targeted. Which, if we're going off just this year alone, which is the only time we've got to really go off, his body hasn't handled that, and that's not a knock on the bloke, but that's just like that's the risk involved with paying upwards of 1.1 million a year for him. And was he able to handle that well this year? I don't think he was able to because he was off his game a lot. I feel like this year he was constantly at refs. He was constantly at his own teammates like Corey Oates and stuff that we've seen. It's an interesting, like on paper and face value, you go, yeah, awesome. They'll get value for money. For an off-field point of view. On-field, we know he can be a great player, but we just haven't seen it at a consistent level like your Pongers, your Clearys, those sorts of players. I still have him a bit below those sorts of players. So 1.15, whatever it would end up being, then if those figures are right, it's a big, big gamble, in my opinion.
I don't think he can answer to getting, targeted like that. Like you look at the big fullbacks of the game, Teddy, Ponga, Edwards. Everyone targets them. Of course, defensively, going into the game, you need to stop this fullback. He is going to wreck us. He's going to rip us a new one if you cannot, mark him and hold him down. And the good ones, those ones, they always have an answer for that. They're inevitable. They'll always get it done. As soon as the going gets tough for Walsh, he goes missing. And if anyone is solid, they'll come out and they'll just go, okay, where's Reece Walsh gone? He can't do anything and he doesn't have an answer for it. It's like, are you really going to give 1.1 to that?
One thing with that
speculative.
though, one thing with that, what you just said is it's a team sport. I understand you're going to give him a lot of money and I understand all of that. But at the same time, you have good halfbacks. If you have a player like a fullback that's getting targeted, use him as a decoy. Like, you have ways around that. And if you have a player that's that big of a name that is being used and being targeted all the time, that's your perfect decoy, because that's players that are, players on the other team that are going to extra double up on trying to make sure that it stop him. That's where spaces open up. So kind of works for and against you at the same time. But the biggest
a lot of money for a decoy.
Oh, that's a hell of a lot of money for a decoy, man. I was going to say
no,
something.
that's not what I'm saying. I'm not just saying just always use him as a decoy, but I'm saying a big name that can play like that, you can use both ways. Use him as an attacking player because you know what he can do. And then when players in another team start to then, catch onto it and whatever, and they are focusing on him, that's when you change it up, like switch it mid-game. Like, you've got, think about their halfback, Adam Reynolds. Think about, I don't know the 5'8" anymore, but think about their halfback, Adam Reynolds, okay? And obviously, like last year and whatnot, he was injured. Yeah, obviously last year he was injured and whatnot. But the thing is that he's one of the ace halfbacks in the competition. I know he's getting old, but in terms of strategy and thinking and ball playing, like that type of style of things, he's elite. He's one of the top level halves in the competition, especially with his kicking game and stuff like that. He's the type of halfback you want, and I know he's getting on in age and whatnot, with that type of player at fullback kind of thing, because he's the one who'll be able to utilize him the best. The other thing I was going to say in terms of like the money they're spending on him, the money that they're spending to keep Reece Walsh is pennies on the money that they are going to make as a club by keeping Reece Walsh.
Yeah.
So in terms of the football side of things, look, he's a freak. He's a good-looking bloke. We can all agree, all right? I don't like him any more than I like anyone else, but he's a good-looking bloke.
Jake.
And he puts, but like you said, Jesse, he puts bums on seats. He makes the money. So obviously, other than winning a comp, that's a club's goal. To make money is the end goal. It's a business, and the amount of money that they're spending to keep him, just pennies to the money he makes, just by being a person there.
I'll tell you one final thing before we move on from this one, because we're going to get a bit strapped for time, but it puts a lot of pressure on Reece Walsh now. 100, because what I mean by that is obviously this year, I think there's been a little bit of off-field stuff. Obviously, what he's gone through personally. He was over in Bali with Mam a couple of weeks ago when they got in a bit of trouble. Wasn't nothing overly serious, but it was just enough to go, are you going down this path now? We know the culture at the Broncos has not been great this year, and he may not. He's been in a bit of trouble here and there as well, especially last year, that grand final moment in the grand final parade where he had to go at that fan and things like that. That sort of stuff. When you're on that kind of money, you can't be doing. You can't be putting any foot out of place when you're on this kind of money, because he's already in the public eye. Like, he's probably the most in the public eye player in the NRL. It's going to go to another level now, because if you're getting 1.1 at a club, they're going to want you to go to even more press, even more club duty stuff. You're going to be under a lot of pressure. And I know he's still quite young. He's got a few things going on personally. Like, this is a lot now. This is huge. So this is going to show what Reece is made out of. And if he got frustrated this year, there's a chance this could really bubble up from the next year or two with a bit more noise around him and his name. So interesting to see. But Jesse, bit of the flames on you now, a bit of the fire, because the Roosters have granted permission this afternoon. This has come out. Look, the Roosters haven't confirmed this, but this has been rumoured by Daily Telegraph. I think it was a few of those sorts of boys did it. Granted permission to leave the Roosters. Terrell May leaving the Roosters after being potentially their best or second best forward this year, looking like on top of the world. I have no idea what's going on. It feels like something is happening. I don't know what has happened off the field, but it feels like something's happened, because this is left field, because Jared Hargraves just left. You've lost a number of players. So I do not think this is cap pressure at all. And it looks like next year you'd have Lenu and Collins starting, him off the bench with White often having that.
I think he might be gone, Jesse.
I think we may have lost him.
Yeah. Oh, he's back.
You're back. Sorry. Go on.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, guys. Storm in my area. So I've been absolutely all over the shop. But what are your thoughts, Jesse? There seems to be something happening.
Yeah, something has to be happening, man. He's got 2 years. He just re-signed, and now they're saying, immediately you can get out of here. So something has to happen. Something has to have happened to him, and I'm gutted. I saw it. I was like, that's outrageous. That has to be a joke. I hope something's not happening like this here, but because the door was like open, it was paid for him to just start. He was going to be getting that. He would have been perfect in the 10. Him and Collins would have been unbeatable. But I guess who knows, man? Maybe not meant to be. Lenu's going to be a great starter, I guess. It's going to be really good. But like, there's a lot of players leaving. It's definitely not cap pressure. Has nothing to do with it. And they've got a few forwards leaving. You know what I mean? Like Rhea Hargraves is gone. It doesn't mean much. But like Dylan Napper's gone. Not that if he ever started anyway. And Tupanua's gone too. So I think in their forward rotation, those guys are gone. So who have you
Brandon
got?
Smith's out for half the year.
Is he?
Yeah, well, he's injured.
Yeah,
He's got that injury, so
right,
he'll be
ACL.
gone. So that's Hooker/Lock, another sort of forward gone. So
yeah, no, it's gonna be weird, man. There's gonna be some losses to cover. I suppose we'll talk about it soon, but yeah, I don't know, man. They're not in a position to be letting someone like that go.
But again, this is all out late at night on Thursday, obviously, and this is when we're recording this. So I anticipate, again, when you're all listening to this Friday, something will come out here. There'll be some bit more news about this because it just doesn't seem right. Jake, you got a quick opinion on this one?
Yeah, I'll do it quick. I just want to. It's not even an opinion. Like, obviously, that's a massive loss for them straight away. Like, especially if it was on his own, it wouldn't be that massive. But with all the losses that you've suffered so far this season alone, there's no way you'll be able to recover that many players by the start of next season. It's just not going to happen. Like, you might be able to get a few signings or here and there or whatever, but there's other teams that are trying to get signings as well. So, like, you have to compete with them at the same time. The only real thing you got going for you at the moment is, first of all, money. Second of all, like now that people have left, roster spots. Well, I was gonna say roster spots. Like you've got places to sort of for them to go kind of thing. And what I wanted to ask you was, do you think the reason he's leaving is because everyone else is sort of like so many other people are leaving with him, and also kind of the fact that
he re-signed after that. That's the thing. He re-signed after most of those had confirmed they were leaving. So he knew that there was a position there after Jared Rhea Hargraves was leaving. So
I'd love to know what the reasoning is behind that. Yeah.
We can't say much, obviously. It's all rumored and our opinions. I've got to make sure that's out there. We're not saying anything. It just feels very weird. It feels unusual.
Yeah, it does. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like something that they they're willingly putting themselves in this situation where they're going to be extremely light in the forwards again. You know, going into last year, we were like, holy shit, who makes it into this starting pack? There's too many players. Now they're almost in the opposite. Like, okay, they've got two starters now, Collins and Lenu, fair enough. Very good. And then you've got Nafahu White and CR Wong. But that's it. Like, I don't know if I'm missing anyone.
Any injuries?
Still prefer Lenu.
Butcher will be there, the Butcher boys. So, but neither of the Butcher boys are going to be props. Like, I don't know. I really don't know.
Sorry to say, Jesse, but I tell you what, we could be talking about a bottom sort of 6 finish for the Roosters next year, the way things are looking, because both Sam Walker and Brandon Smith are out for at least half the year next year. And as we all know now, that a lot of their losses, and if this ends up happening, and it's effective immediately as well, they've let him go on tour. Just quickly, let me know the team that pops up straight away when you think where could Terrell May end up, if it's anywhere, Jesse?
Dogs?
Surely they don't have the cap space. Surely.
They just let go of Addo-Carr, which would have been 500-600.
Surely they don't.
Imagine
Parramatta. That's my
May, Curran.
They're coming to Parra. He's coming to Parra.
I'm going Dogs as well. I'm locking in the Dogs. I feel like Dogs. It's funny how even that happened. When you think about it now, Dogs have let go of Addo-Carr tonight. We've heard that new, like, who knows? But anyway, last one for the night. I guess after all those big names we've spoken about, no disrespect here, but we talk about Tana Boyd. The ex-Titan half, who wasn't even making the first grade side at the Titans for the back half of the year, signs a 2-year deal with the Warriors. A bit of a strange one. I guess it's more of a depth sort of signing. But to be honest, I don't know what is going on there. There's a weird noise.
Yeah. It's like a train.
Yeah, someone's got a train or something going in. Sorry, whatever that is. Hopefully that doesn't come out as strong as it feels like it's coming out here. But
don't know if it's me or not.
Just mute yourself for a second. Have a look.
Yeah.
Definitely Jake.
Yeah, it's Jake. Someone's vacuuming at your house or something. Who knows?
I'll mute till you ask me a question.
All right. Yeah, we'll be quick on this one anyway. So, yeah, Jesse, Tana Boyd, it must be a depth signing. They've still got a couple of halves options there. So, yeah, that's all I can really think. I hope it's not much money and he'll just do a job.
I can't imagine it's much money. Obviously, they just lost Sean Johnson, man. So you got to think like, who have they got now? Tamari Martin will probably do it in there. Young 5'8". Can't remember. I'm blanking
Chanel
on
Harris
his name.
Davida.
The other one, the good one, Metcalf. Luke Metcalf, he's a 5'8". So
Tamari
yeah,
Martin,
they've got a couple. You know what I mean? They've got a
Harris-Tavita,
couple,
yeah.
but you're not really replacing Sean Johnson. You're kind of just like filling the void of a halfback who can kind of get around a bit. So I think, yeah, I suppose they're sort of in a position where they do need to fill that spot. But like, you know, if you're going to be doing that, go for someone with a bit of quality game about you instead of squad depth, because that's essentially what it is. You could make it into the Titans. Like, you're not replacing Sean Johnson if you can't start for the Titans. So, yeah, you know, I hope he does well. Who knows? There's all heaps of stuff happening at the Warriors too. So, but yeah, if he gets a start, man, there's a 7th spot there ready to go. Could walk straight into it.
They'll have basically a battle, I guess, in this offseason, which there seems to be a few positional battles across the NRL at the moment. Across a few clubs, have got some positional battles, which would be good to watch in the offseason. Jake, that's pretty much you're getting barred from this one because I don't know. I don't want to risk you getting any more noise in this. Oh, here we go. What you got something quick to say about this Tana boy? There's nothing really that we haven't said, I don't think, about this one.
I was just going to say that next year's halves pairing will absolutely be Tamari Martin starting 7 and Metcalf in 6. Yeah, Metcalf in 6, 100%. Because when
100%.
Tamari Martin's taking control of the team this season, he's looked absolutely unstoppable. Every time that he got taken out of that role, he just didn't. Also, I got a message from my father-in-law saying King Gutho is a traitor. So I just thought I'd let you know that as well.
That's a bit rough.
Harsh.
Yeah,
Harsh.
After all those years.
Me. Well, Jake's going to get a punishment. Please send me some messages because tonight we've had the dog a few times. We've had some weird vacuum cross train thing just before. So he'll get a punishment. There's no doubt about it. I apologize, but I can't control the weather for my poor internet and cut out just before. I can hear some thunder rolling in again, so I'm shit myself. We're getting out of here. Again, I anticipate next week's episode will be crazy. There'll be a lot happening the next week, and hopefully we can provide you some more updates with the Terrell May stuff, all that sort of thing. But again, thank you for all the love and support. We really appreciate it. The podcast stuff is growing at the moment, which is really cool to see. Keep hitting that bell icon, the follow stuff, all of that, and keep tuning in for all those season reviews that we're doing on each player, each team. Thank you, and enjoy your weekend.